Welcome back to the Higher Form Podcast. We're here every week having real conversations with leaders, coaches, and everyday people about what it takes to become your best. We know life will test you, and we're here to share practical tips, tools, and relatable stories to help you build the highest form of your life. This week, I have a local rehab chiropractor with me, Dr. John McNeely. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here.
John has helped me and many of our clients with aches, pains, and rehab and general chiropractic needs. So it's been cool to have you just kind of as a part of our community or extension of our community. And I think it's been a long time coming to get you here.
Yeah, it's been great working with you guys and all the, the clients you have that come through. And yeah, happy to help people move better,
Heck yeah, dude. Well, let's dive right in. I think we met at a Overland Park Chamber of Commerce event, I believe.
Yeah.
It was like one of the first Wednesday wake-ups that I went to. Just kind of getting into conversation with you early on and feeling like there was a lot of alignment. And I love how you talk about pain and movement and your approach to long-term health. I think that there's a lot of, how do I say this? There's a lot of different styles of chiropractic treatment, and getting a chance to connect with you and some of the other people that I really respect in the space, you definitely align with more of what I would believe to be kind of like the ideal approach to help people get better and move better.
Yeah. There's a big spectrum with chiropractic. You got your default adjustments only, high volume. That's all we do is adjust 5 minutes in and out. And then I'm probably on the exact opposite side of that spectrum where, we're doing long-term appointments, looking for long-term solutions, trying to get root cause. Adjustments are a tool I use, but not the end-all be-all.
Yeah.
Right. So and then everything in between. So
yeah, what I liked about it is because as soon as you talked about that, and it's funny, we were just joking about this before we actually went live, but like you've worked with a lot of athletes, you've worked with a lot of general population. I know, your business is KC Spine and Sports, so of course I'm like sports chiropractor out of the gate, right? Like I think like, okay, cool. I'm attracted to that because I still like to feel like I'm somewhat of an athlete after many of my years of playing sports, and I was like, man, I got to go check this out. And when I did get a chance to go visit and just kind of get a feel for your approach and the style of treatment you offer and the way you do things, I was really impressed by the fact that you have so many different tools or resources that you use. Like you said, it's not just, hey, come in and, like, let me get you adjusted and see you later, come see me again and whenever.
Yeah.
It was, hey, let's get you adjusted, but let's also go look at like some of the other things that we could do to treat and support your longer term success. So what is it, like dry needling? You do cupping, you do scraping, like name them all. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean, if you've heard of it, I probably do it, right?
Yeah.
You got ART, DNS, SFMA, FMS, cupping, scraping, Graston, dry needling, exercise rehab. I mean, just like whatever it is, right? When I was going through school, especially, and learning kind of the chiropractic side of things, I was like, man, there's so much more to this. And I want to have more tools, right? If the adjustment's the only tool you have, then everything looks like an adjustment will fix it, right? Hammer in the nail, right? And so I just started collecting new certifications and new tools, essentially, new techniques, therapies, whatever they are, and just kind of combine them all to cater to whatever the patient needs at that time.
Yeah, let's run it back, man, because I know you're from this area originally, right?
Yeah, I grew up around here.
Okay, cool.
I went to Shawnee Mission East High School.
Okay, I thought that, but I was like, hey, I'm not going to assume. I remember us talking about that. So then what got you into chiropractic? Because you went to Cleveland too, right?
Yes, I went to Cleveland Chiropractic.
When was that?
That was I got out in 2016. So I went in 2012 after undergrad at KU.
Okay.
And so I went chiropractic. When I went to undergrad, I was actually pre-med. And then I was pre-med for the first couple years at KU. And then I shadowed a couple family docs just in Lawrence in the area. And I just didn't really love that style of kind of what I would say more hands-off medicine, right? Where you see a patient for a little bit, you generally write them a script or come back and, try this for a couple of weeks, come back and we'll see what's going on, right? There's not really a whole lot of hands-on. So then I switched to actually pre-PT, and I was pre-PT up until basically graduation. Mm-hmm. But when it was literally came down to geography, it was like I had experience with chiro and PT through growing up. And as a chiropractor, and this might piss some chiropractors and some PTs off probably, as a chiropractor, I can do everything a PT can do.
Yeah.
And if you're a PT out there, you should be able to do everything a chiropractor can do, honestly, right? There shouldn't be a big knowledge gap between the two professions. Mm-hmm. And for me, Cleveland was 10 minutes away from my house I already had, and the PT school I was looking at was 3.5 hours away.
How competitive is chiropractic school in comparison to what it was like to get into PT school? Because I graduated my undergrad in 2013, because we're pretty close to the same age.
Yeah.
And was going to go to physical therapy school. Highly competitive. Would say that I always got away with doing what I needed to in school without having to try super hard and still getting pretty decent grades, but I did not study well for the GRE,
Yeah.
and I did not prepare well for all the other things that made me stand out as an applicant. So I got waitlisted at a bunch of schools and was like, I remember having somebody in my corner saying, "Go to chiropractic school, go to chiropractic school," and I was just like, "No, I don't want to be a chiropractor," because at that point in time,
Yeah.
my understanding was you adjust people and then you send them on their way.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that they, like what you said, and I totally agree with you, they really can be one and the same in regards to what capabilities you have to be able to treat people and help support them in getting better.
Yeah, and a lot of that's changed in the last like 10 years since I left. I mean, when I was in school, PTs were not portal of entry providers, which means you would have to have a prescription from a doctor to go see a PT.
Gotcha.
Chiros were always portal of entry. You could just go to a chiropractor, right? So that was obviously kind of a benefit of going that route. I was like, I don't have to rely on this other medical system to feed me revenue, basically,
sense.
right? I can kind of do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a little bit different. It's very state by state, but I think pretty much every state is open for everybody now. So
Gotcha.
that was one of the reasons. As far as like entry requirements go, I think PT is definitely a little more stringent, and I don't know if that's changed in the last 10 years. Like you didn't need to take the GRE to go to chiro school.
You don't have to do it for PT school anymore either.
Okay,
Yeah.
they took that away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think my entry class, and we do trimesters in chiro school, so you're in school all year round.
Okay.
I want to say we started with like 77 something people
Okay.
for my class, and I think we graduated with like 32.
Yeah.
Right.
Weeding them
So
out.
there's a big attrition rate as
Yep.
people drop off. Like, oh, this isn't what I want to do. Oh, it's too much school. Because you are in school, and this is a big misnomer. A lot of people are like, oh, chiropractor. You like went down to Guatemala and got like a certificate or something, right? Like it's like 3.5, 4 years of school
Yeah.
of full time, all
Yeah.
school,
No breaks.
from 7:30 to like 5 every single day, basically,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then so I think it's actually a little bit longer. And don't judge me too hard on this. I think it's like maybe 6 months to a year longer than PT school is,
Okay.
right? So there's a whole education thing that goes with it, obviously, to get to where you're going. But entry wise, it's not that hard. It's just whether or not you can stick it out for the
Mhm.
duration, because it is a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I think that's cool. And so what do you think really drew you into, deciding that you were wanting to do your own practice versus going somewhere else? Because I know you did work at other practices before
Yeah.
too. Yeah, walk me through kind of like where you started, like after you graduated, because I know you ended up in Arizona. Did you go straight out there? Did you start here? Like what happened then?
Yeah, so I've been practicing for 10 years now, and I've
Okay.
only owned my own clinic for 2. So I basically worked for other people kind of for 8 years. After graduation, I moved to Poland, and I lived in Europe for like 2.5 years, 3
We
years.
talked about this. I don't know. I don't know.
I
if
don't know,
knew that.
maybe.
Yeah.
I think I maybe mentioned it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I lived in Europe for 2.5 years, and I worked out there.
Okay.
So that was just for myself, but it was just a small thing. I was out there with an ex who was working on an engineering project out there. And so once I came back stateside, most of my family lives in Scottsdale.
Yep.
So I moved out to Phoenix, and then I onboarded with a kind of sports chiropractic practice out there.
Mhm.
And I worked there for about 4 years, and then moved back here, took a job that I did not love for about a year here, just to kind of get reestablished back in the KC area, and then decided it was finally time to go out and do my own thing. So, and then here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
And I know you and I have talked about this at length, but your experience in the Phoenix and Scottsdale market was dramatically different than what it looks like in the Midwest.
Yeah, it's a vastly different demographic of people, right? Phoenix is relatively nice all year round. You can do outdoor activities most of the year. The summer's awful, but there's still people that are active, right? There's a lot of really high-end coaches out there that are teaching swimming, track, whatever. MLB does spring training out there. My office was 10 minutes away from the Cardinals training facility. And so you just work with a lot of athletes, and then even not the professional athletes, the people there are just more athletic in general. They're just more active, because I think
Yep.
there's just more opportunity to be active.
Yep.
You're surrounded by mountains. You can go hiking and mountain biking, right? And so the demographic shift was surprising, honestly, because you just get so used to working with this one type of people, these very motivated, fairly active people that are kind of, I would say, more ahead of the game on their pain points and getting them taken care of,
Yep.
right? Whereas here in the Midwest, people a little more salt of the earth, a little more stubborn about things, like, it'll go away on its own. And then 6 months later, they're like, well, maybe I'll get it checked out.
Yeah.
Whereas in Phoenix, it's like, oh, yeah, this tweaked it 2 days ago, hasn't gone away, let's go get it worked out.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, it's just funny. Out there, people are just a little more preemptive, I guess, than people here, a little more stubborn and a little more laid back and more resilient to medical intervention, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, obviously a popular retirement community as well. So you get a lot of people out there
Yeah.
who have the finances to be able to go out and live a certain lifestyle and invest in their health and do that maybe a little bit differently. I don't know that I've heard much about people moving to Kansas City to enjoy their retirement and be active.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
not a big pull here,
yeah,
that's for sure.
great place to live, obviously,
Uh,
but yeah, man, very different. And I'm gonna give you an opportunity, whether you feel comfortable with it or not, to brag a little bit about some of the different styles of athletes that you've worked with and this broad diversity. Because I know when I walk into your office, I see all these pictures on the wall of all these different like types of people you've worked with. Everything from Olympic level athletes in track and field to I think DeAndre Hopkins is one of the people from the Cardinals at that point
yeah,
in
yeah.
time. Some big time bodybuilders, a ton of like baseball and other things. So just kind of walk me through some of your experience with like working with higher level athletes and what that looked like and who all you had an opportunity to treat.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all the major sports, if you got paid to play it, I've worked with somebody who was paid to do it for a job. So most of the professionals that I worked with were NFL players, Major League Baseball players, a handful of bodybuilders, a lot of professional track and field for like Nike, Adidas, Reebok, New Balance, a handful of Olympians, some Olympic medalists, swimmers, bodybuilders, powerlifters, no hockey players, a couple soccer
Probably
players,
not in
and
Arizona.
yeah, not a lot of hockey out there. They do have a professional team, just they didn't come to us.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's I mean that's kind of it. And then you get your dancers and your gymnasts and all that kind of other stuff that kind of trickles in there as well. But yeah, no, not really any NBA, no NBA for some reason. But
Interesting.
yeah, a lot of mostly MLB, NFL, and runners was
Right on.
kind of the big thing. Yeah, great. Great people to work with. They're all super motivated, right?
Yeah.
They get paid to be active. They get paid to be not injured,
Yeah.
And so you give them something to do. You give them exercises. You walk them through some rehab or whatever it is, and you know that they're going to do it,
Yeah.
right? Tarek Skubal is a great example. He's a lefty pitcher for Detroit
Okay.
now, and I was working with him mainly when he was coming up through AAA, and then early into his career with the Tigers. But just a super super great dude to work with. Super humble, professional athlete, makes millions of dollars now,
Yeah.
but the hardest worker in the room every time.
That's cool.
Wants to get better. You give him an exercise, you know damn well he's going to be doing it, right? And just working with people like that is super rewarding because you get to see kind of the fruits of your labor,
Yeah.
right? The one thing that I don't like working with some of the population is that I care more about their health and their recovery than they do.
Yeah.
With professional athletes, it's not that way,
Yeah.
right? And so it's a very rewarding population to work with and just
Yeah.
fun, fun to hear the war stories and the locker room talk. And,
Yeah.
it's just a bunch of bros doing bro stuff. So, yeah, it's good.
That's awesome, man. And so that shift to working with more general population, because I know that you don't have like the opportunity even to work with that level of professional athletes or that volume of professional athletes here in the
Yeah.
Midwest. How have you taken some of the approaches that have worked well with someone who is more of a performance-based mindset and helped kind of like bring that wave of awareness and style of treatment to your general population people you're working with?
Yeah, I think the biggest factor was that athletes want to get better, but everybody's the same, right? Everybody's different, but everybody's the same. We all move the same. The same biomechanical problems that an athlete have are the same things that I'm going to look for in a layman, right? And so instead of kind of treating everybody as like, okay, you're a blue collar worker, you're a professional athlete, you're going to get different levels of treatment, I just treat everybody like an athlete, right? Because everybody at their heart, at their core, is athletic. Whether athletic for you means we're doing a high rocks or it means I can play with my kids in the backyard,
Yep.
right? You're an athlete at some level.
Yep.
Okay. And so that's the way that I approach everybody with just the same mindset. I don't think there's any reason to VIP treatment for your NFL superstars and bronze treatment for your stay at home moms, right? It's look at everybody the same because all I'm really trying to do is fix dysfunctional movement patterns.
Yep.
Right. And so everybody has those.
Yep. I love that. And I think that was a big part of why it's like, it's really cool that you've had that opportunity, that experience, and it's sexy to talk about because it's like everybody wants, like, everybody's like, oh man, that's so awesome. What was it like working with those types of people? But I take the same approach in regards to like what we do here. All of our coaches and most of our team comes from an athletic background. Of course, we love working with people who come from that space and that mindset because of the way that they approach their training, kind of like what you had said.
Yeah.
But I think that when you can take someone who maybe doesn't see themselves from that identity and can help them recognize that, like to your point, we are all athletes. Our sport is different. For some of us, it's maybe hiking or riding a bike or playing with our kids or doing that high
Yeah.
rocks or just being strong enough to, pick something off the ground and not have to worry about anyone else for physical independence.
Yeah, for sure.
So I thought that was really cool when I first met with you, and a big part of why it's been easy for us to refer people your direction because it's one of those things where one, your location is highly convenient. You are literally right down Antioch from us.
Yeah.
But two, the way you approach things is very much like, hey, you're a human. You need to move well. You have a physical body. You have these aches, pains, limitations. Let's address them from the root and let's work on giving you what you need to like make it better long term without relying on my care to always be the band-aid that fixes you short term. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That to my core, what I focus on is
Hmm.
let's figure out why you have the pain, right?
Yep.
Why does it keep coming back? What is actually causing it? If we treat the pain, that's fine. We'll get people to feel better. But it's just like putting oil in an engine and then just running that car for 100,000 miles without an oil change.
Hmm.
It won't last. It's eventually going to wear down,
Yeah.
right? You have to fix the movement patterns. The pain comes from somewhere. We just got to figure out where.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because when we met, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I came to you until I had an issue. I remember I was doing, it was like right after the holidays. It would have been a little over a year ago. We had traveled to Des Moines to see Brittany's family, and I had sat in a car a ton for a few days.
Hmm.
I had done a bunch of like hip flexor dominant stuff. And I remember going in to see you because I had like tweaked my back doing deadlifts on this road trip because I was like, man, I got some time off. I got
Yeah,
time to
that's right.
stretch. And I was like, man, I got to get a hold of him and check him out anyways and see what happens. And a few visits, you came in, but what I loved about it is it was like not just crack, here's what's going on, come see me in a few more days. Obviously, I followed back up and we had a plan in place, but you gave me exercises, we did the other modalities. It was more of a complete care approach. And I think that once again, I can't reiterate this enough. It's getting more common, but it's felt like it's so uncommon to find that when you look at it in regards to the total opportunities to get connected with people here
Yeah.
versus the people who really do it and take the right approach like you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in this area specifically, this just demographic and the population around here is just used to a traditional chiropractor because
Yep.
Cleveland's a very traditional chiropractic school, and you're in school for 4 years, and then you graduate. You've started a life here in a lot of cases, so you have a ton of chiropractors around here that are just practicing traditional, right?
Yep.
So doing something like what I do, and what other rehab or sports-oriented chiropractors in the area do, it's very easy to kind of get lost in the weeds because we're just I don't want to say a diamond in the rough. What everybody else is doing is fine, but it's definitely easy to get kind of looked over,
Yeah.
just because everybody else is doing basically the same thing, and that's what people are used to,
Yeah.
right? And so it's very kind of is just different, and it's hard to get out there and really shine, I guess, in this in this area
Yeah.
specifically. Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's like taking opportunities like this to obviously, I mean, we don't have this like massive audience, but to find ways to just let people know you exist. Our friend Brandon Reed has talked to me about that. I remember chatting with him early on when we were getting to the point to where we were scaling a Vexy. And it's one of the things he'd always say is like, it never hurts to let people know you exist,
yeah,
which is why I joined the chamber, why I do this. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I would like to think that we're at a point in time where this area and people in the Midwest are slowly coming around to this like reality that healthcare, fitness, proactive wellness like looks different than maybe that traditional method and that there are opportunities to do it better versus just whether it's going to the gym membership or the crack and go chiropractor or the things that maybe aren't as like holistic in nature. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, for sure. And like I've said, basically since I moved back and kind of got settled in, was that this area, just knowledge wise of what's out there in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like chiropractic in the rehab space and
Mm-hmm.
the tools that are available, I would say is like 7 years behind what Phoenix was. Right.
How'd you come on 7?
It's just a number that I chose.
Okay.
It just
It
feels
just
like
feels
we're
right.
about 7 years behind.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've been back here. This will be going on 4 years now.
Yeah.
And you can see that shift starting.
Mm-hmm.
We're not quite over the hump in the middle, I don't think yet. But so far, 7 years seems to be pretty accurate. So
Okay.
in the next few years, I'm expecting a pretty big mindset shift kind of in this area of just really the preventative and the long-term solution care rather than the band-aid type care.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the cool part about that is I feel like you position yourself well to be prepared for when people are ready for that. You know,
Yeah, here's hoping.
yeah, I know, right? And I feel like that's been our intention as well, more on like the fitness side of it, right? Like not just going to a place where you check in, but you have the guidance to support the full on approach to things.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit more about why you practice the way that you do and why that's important to do that so that as we're here trying to educate people and press the timeline on that 7 years, how do we help people understand the value of taking more of an approach like what you do?
Yeah, it's about just body mechanics and movement, right? Like we're machines and we're meant to move certain ways. And throughout life, like humans aren't meant to be stuck at a desk 9 hours a day or 8 hours a day,
Hmm.
right? We're meant to be nomads chasing a herd through a field, basically, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how we're designed to move, right? And we're designed to move. And most people throughout life, because of the way that society is now structured, most people don't move.
Hmm.
And so when you do start moving again, you move improperly. And so a lot of what I do is about restoring those proper motion patterns because those improper motion patterns are what lead to wear and tear over time, right? Like Example, people that come in with, oh, my low back pain just started out of nowhere. I have no idea. There wasn't like an injury. They didn't lift something weird. There was no like just onset thing that triggered it.
Yep.
It just popped up one day. It's because they move poorly, and they move poorly a dozen times a day doing a certain, most of the time it's bending over, and they
Mm-hmm.
just bend over slightly wrong, right?
Yep.
Not horribly wrong, but slightly wrong, wrong enough to where you're just grinding the gears down. And they do that a dozen times a day for weeks,
Yeah.
months, years, and it just builds up. Just improper repetitions build up, and then all of a sudden they have pain and they don't know where it came from. So they can go see a chiropractor, they can go see a PT, they can go get popped or get some, dry needling or some grafting done, and they can get out of the acute pain phase pretty quickly, right? We can calm them down and get them moving again, but they're still going to be moving improperly.
Yep.
And if they keep moving improperly, it's just a matter of time before the pain comes back.
Mm-hmm.
So my mindset and my shift is kind of, all right, let's get you out of pain so that we can move, but then let's reinforce proper movement patterns, whether that be identifying weak muscles, tight muscles, stability issues, whatever it is, let's address that. And then let's put it all together in the end so that then you can move and tolerate new load the way that you're supposed to,
Yep.
so that this doesn't keep coming back, right?
Yep.
You shouldn't have to rely on your chiropractor or your PT for the same problem over and over and over again. If you keep having to go back for the same issue, there's a piece of the puzzle missing.
Yep, that makes sense. When I think you've reiterated this multiple times, the role of movement. And I've talked with Brian on this podcast about this before. One of the most frustrating things for us is when we run into a scenario where that does pop up. We work with clients who sit at desks all day long. They'll come in, they'll work out. Maybe they start to work through different things. We're trying to change their movement patterns. We're trying to get them moving better, but they fall into old habits. And a lot of times we almost find that people's injuries are a byproduct of things that are happening outside of the gym more than they are things that happen inside the gym, because when they're here, they're focused on doing the right things. But when they're at home, they're not focused on it. Yet they'll go to maybe a traditional chiropractic place and they'll say, you need to rest for a little bit, take time off, versus saying, like, we need to fix the way that you're moving or address some of these causes. And it's always one of the most frustrating things for
Yeah.
us because, to your point, which is once again why we align so well, it's hard to think that if you just stop what you're doing and let it rest, that it's not going to come back if you don't rewire or retrain your brain and your nervous system.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a massive part of it is this kind of switch, this dynamic switch from bed rest style recovery versus active recovery, right? And we've seen that just even in like the gym workout space, like active recovery is huge now.
Yep.
And it used to be like when you're done working, okay, do some static stretching and then like just chill. You know what I mean? And that it's come a long way. And you same thing with like surgeries, like a hip replacement surgery, for example. They used to do hip replacement surgery and you were basically on bed rest for 72 hours.
Yep.
Now you are up and walking the same day. They have replaced a part of your bone with an artificial piece and stuck it back into your body, sewed you up, and then they have you walking on it 6 hours later.
Yeah.
Right? That should apply to everything, right?
Yeah.
Like just because your low back seized up, like it might be uncomfortable to move, but trust me, moving is going to be better overall for you long
Yep.
term, right? And it's just that dynamic shift of getting people to understand that you're not made of glass, right? Your body is meant to move. If you don't give it movement, it will slow down and then you won't be able to move.
Yep.
If you just never, it's literally if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yep.
If you can't bend down and touch your toes because it hurts, but you never try to bend to the point of where there's a little bit of discomfort, then you lose that.
Yeah.
Your body stiffens up and then you can't bend as far as you could. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. So that brings up a really good question. How do you help people understand and learn about what is ideal for like working to discomfort versus where pain lies? Like, what are some of the cues you give to people? So if they come in and say, hey, when I do this, like, how do I know if that's a good pain or if that's a bad pain or if it's necessary discomfort or unnecessary? How do
Yeah.
you help people differentiate that?
That's tough because everybody's pain tolerance is different,
Mm-hmm.
right? And most people's pain tolerance isn't nearly as high as they think it is. Okay?
It's a fact.
Yeah. Oh, I'm super. Yeah, no, you're probably not, right? But anyway, so I always say give pain a handshake, not a hug.
Okay.
So if you're doing a rehab exercise or you're doing a movement and you're getting tickled like a 3 or a 4 out of 10,
Okay.
that's fine. You have to kind of get into that zone. Otherwise, your body, you just lose it, right? You just can't, if you never push into that discomfort level, you will just lose that motion. And then
Mm-hmm.
your recovery gets way, way harder,
Mm-hmm.
right? You see it with frozen shoulder all the time.
Okay.
If you get after frozen shoulder in like 2, 3 days after it kind of started, your recovery is like almost instantaneous, so much faster. If you wait 6 months, like most people do, just hoping it'll go away, it takes a year to get your shoulder mobility back because you're
Mm-hmm.
not moving it. So everything gets really, really tight. It's the same thing. Just push into the pain a little bit, 3 or 4, give it a handshake, don't give it a hug.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good cue. And I think that that's one of those things that helping people understand what's necessary pain or discomfort versus where like that line is. Another thing too that I've always heard, and you can tell me whether or not you believe this is right or wrong, but just like sharp versus dull or like different pain sensations and how to navigate that. Like what's your cue around that side of it?
Yeah, it just depends on kind of where you're at, right? Like sciatica pain is pretty much always going to be sharp
Yeah.
and stabby,
Yeah.
right? And but there's levels of sharp, right? There's getting poked with a needle and there's getting stabbed with a knife, right?
Yeah.
There's two sharp pains, but they're vastly different on the
Yeah.
pain scale, right?
So it goes
And
back to that
so
like 3 to 4 type of
yeah,
scale
a
on
3 to
saying.
4. If you get higher than that, then you probably just went too fast, too far, or you just didn't do the motion quite right. So it's just time to reset, reevaluate. Maybe, if you're working on just a hip hinge
Mm-hmm.
and you get a really sharp pain when you're at the bottom of your hinge. Okay, then check our form. Did we round our back at the bottom?
Yep.
If not, then we went too far. We went too low too quickly,
Yep.
right? So we just back it down a little bit and you just back up into a more reasonable range of motion, and then you work through that until that's comfortable, and then you add 5 degrees of motion,
But
and then
that
you just
takes
work.
forever. It's
I
gonna take
know,
so long.
yeah, I know it's tough. It's tough when you got to put a little bit of time and
Yeah.
consistency in, but unfortunately, there's no quick fixes. If there were quick fixes, you wouldn't still be in pain,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that's just the simple
and
truth.
it goes back to what we talked about, man. Like I think that it's easy to sell the quick fix because it's sexy and it doesn't require any effort. And I feel like a lot of times that's where, people get lost in these ongoing cycles of see the same chiro for the same problem for the same amount of like years. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? How do you help people who maybe get stuck in a tough mindset? 'Cause, we find that with clients on the other end. Maybe it's not so much with pain, but progress in general.
Hmm.
What's your go-to in regards to how you help someone who's maybe struggling with the reality that their progress, whether it be, in our case, more weight loss, or your case, more injury prevention or management or rehab and recovery, how do you help them with that mindset shift to get into like seeing the long game versus getting caught on quick progress?
Yeah, it's really just a desire case, right? Like, do they really want long term relief? Like, and do they understand what that means?
Mm.
And that's where it comes to the practitioner for the education part of like, this is really what long-term relief means, and this is what we can do, and this is how we'll get there, right?
Mm.
And you have to have kind of that plan laid out and have a system in place for that, right?
Yep.
But if somebody's used to just the adjustment only quick fix, like it feels better for a week or two, and then they go back and it just feels better for a week or two, those patients generally aren't ready yet,
Yeah.
right? So with those people, and like since I've kind of restructured things, and so I do discovery calls now with new patients
Yeah.
to see if it's somebody that I think that will even work well with what I do, right?
Yeah.
And half the time it's just, okay, so what are you looking for? Like, what is your goal?
Mm-hmm.
And if you give me, oh, just to be out of pain, okay, that's not a good goal. Like that's everybody's goal who's in pain.
Yep.
What is your goal? What does the pain stop you from doing? Oh, I can't play with my kids for very long. Okay, why does that matter? Right? It's really trying to dive into the deep with people. And if people aren't willing to dive into the deep with you, then they're not ready.
Yeah.
Right? But if you can figure out kind of the internal struggle, not
Mm-hmm.
just the physical struggle. Okay, you have low back pain. Okay, what does that stop you from doing? I can't lift weights in the gym anymore. Okay, so that's your external struggle. What's your internal struggle?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it important to lift weights in the gym? What happens if you can't lift weights in the gym? What happens if this gets worse?
Yep.
And some people just aren't ready to dive that deep yet, and those just people are not patients yet.
Yeah.
They're just not ready to commit to a long-term goal, really. And it's not really a long-term process. I mean, it'll take a couple months, but it's really, you have to be able to commit to yourself and say that I'm tired of this. I want to live a better life, and I want a long-term solution rather than back pain. And
Yep.
that falls to me. If they do kind of align, values, then we bring them in for a discovery visit, and I'll throw them right through the SFMA, just the
Mm-hmm.
top tier test, and we'll just go through just a movement assessment and see, and then I'll break it down for them. Like, hey, you have low back pain. You cannot hinge through your hips. You cannot breathe through your diaphragm, and you have poor ankle stability.
Yep.
If we can fix 2 of those things, your low back pain will melt away.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's a lot of it is on my side is relating dysfunction to their current pain and then relating that to their outcome
Yep.
that they want.
Yep.
Not just get out of pain, but not be a deadbeat dad because you can't play with your kids, right?
Dude, nailed it. And I can't tell you how much that resonates with me because we do the same process. We try to work through, we call it nurturing people's interest.
Yeah.
If somebody reaches out, they say, hey, I saw your ad, or my friend goes there, or whatever it might be. And it's like, all right, cool. Let's like, what are you looking for? And on our end, it's, well, I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to get
okay,
strong.
yeah, okay, well, why do you want to do those things? What makes
Yeah.
you motivated now? What have you tried? Like, just getting deeper into, like you said, that internal struggle. And I think so many people really struggle to find or lean into long-term solutions for pain or progress in health and fitness because they haven't identified the greater of the pains. Is it going to be painful that I deal with this for a long time and I deal with the circumstances if I really address that? Or is it going to be painful to make the commitment, pay the money, spend the time, put in the effort to actually go through and get help from this or with this professionally? And like so many parallels on the business side of this
Yeah.
in regards to the things that we work with, or I wouldn't call it deal with, but like work through with people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's just about overcoming those objections because everybody has objections, whether it's desire. I don't know
We
if,
do too. Like, I
yeah,
mean, to be real, like I'm no different. I have objections when I go into situations. Like
for
I just,
sure.
I just hired a company to help us with something the other day, and it was like I have my own objections for the things I'm seeking help for. You
Yeah.
know, so it's certainly human. I just want to make sure I mention that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. Objections are total human nature. It's total
Yep.
natural. That someone comes up to you and says, do you want to get better forever?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Oh, let me show you. Okay. So, do you really want it? Do you desire it, right? Desire objection. How much does it cost? The cost objection,
Yeah.
right? How long does it take? A time objection. How
Yep.
far away is your clinic from another time? Like,
Convenience.
yeah, convenience. Like, there's just so many things to try to overcome when you're doing this process with people that not everybody is going to make it that far yet.
Yeah.
But a lot of the patients that I end up seeing are patients that have tried chiro, they have tried PT, they have sometimes had surgery already, or they're slated for surgery. So they've done a lot of stuff, they've experienced a lot of stuff that just hasn't worked.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that treatments they were getting were bad or they were being treated
They
poorly.
just weren't complete.
They just weren't complete. Yeah,
Yep.
they were just incomplete treatments, right? They missed something because it kept coming back,
We
right?
see the exact same thing, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, so many parallels because it's like you could say the same thing, but just different outcomes that we serve people for.
Yeah, exactly.
You did start to mention a little bit about like your approach. I'd love to give you the opportunity to just kind of walk through like what makes your clinic different, why you take the approach. And if somebody were to say, hey, you know what, this guy sounds like he might be able to help me out, how would you paint a picture for what they would expect if they were the good fit to come see you?
Yeah, so I think to paint a good picture of why I do things the way I do now, I just need to say what I used to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm basically a blueprint for how to not open a practice. Okay. I spent a ton of money doing things the way that I had done things at other practices.
I mean, that's natural
and
instinct though,
yeah,
man. I think like when you go from working for someone else, and especially if it's a bigger company or people who've been established, like you see things from the perspective of an employee, not the perspective of the owner.
Yeah.
So you turn around and try to take your own iteration of that and start a business. I mean, we did the same thing. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
You use what you know.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't know what you don't know. And
Yeah.
so a lot of it comes down to trial and error early on and things like that. And so, in the beginning it was, okay, I want to help everybody who wants to be helped, whether that's one adjustment or they want to go through a full care plan with me. Like I want to be there for everybody who needs it. That is just exhausting.
Yeah.
Right? When I care more about your treatment than you do, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And chiropractic wise, even doing a little bit of the therapy and stuff, visit 4 or 5, most people drop off because they feel good. They feel really good. Their pain is gone and it hasn't been good there for a week or two. Right? But you haven't fixed anything yet. That's not enough time to fix dysfunction.
Yep.
And so I just made the conscious decision that I'm not going to work with people like that anymore, right? I've been in this career for 10 years and I kind of get to be a little choosy now on what I want to do. And I just want people who want real long-term results and who are willing to put the time in for it.
I feel like that's a natural shift for any business owner because I mean, I've been in our industry for a similar period of time, and it wasn't until probably about a year ago that we made the decision that like we're not going to give people an opportunity to just find a way to work with them. We're going to find a way that makes sense for us to best serve them. And if they're not ready for that, to your point earlier in our conversation, they're just not ready for that. And no sweat, no harm, no foul. But if you are a business owner or a prospective or interested in being a business owner, if you take any lessons away from John and I here, you cannot help everybody. You may have this ambition and desire to go out and be a superhero and save the world. And it certainly is important to have the desire to help people, but you can't help everybody because not everybody is built for you to serve and prepared to buy into what maybe the best way for you to serve them is, you know?
Yeah. Some people will always want the Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. That's
Yep.
their prerogative. Those are not the people that they're not my target demographic anymore, right? Before it was just like I just open, so I just want as many people as I can get, right? I need volume, I need
Reasonably
revenue.
so, you
You
have
know what I
rights.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
I need revenue, right?
Yeah.
So let's just work with anybody who comes to the door. Let's figure it out. Whether ideally we see you for more than 3 visits, but if you disappear in 3 visits, okay, I did my job. You're feeling good, right?
Yep.
But I didn't really do my job because we didn't really fix what was wrong, right? We made you feel better. Awesome. It won't last. I promise it won't last. Right.
Yep.
And I tell people that. And they say, okay, well,
I'll call you when,
well, yeah,
when I need to
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. I'll see you in 6 months, maybe see you in 2 years. Who
Yeah.
knows how long it'll last for, but it won't last forever.
Yep.
And so basically my new process is just weeding those people out, right? And it's not to say that I don't care about those people. They're just not ready to commit to the long term. They can go get a Band-Aid. And there's 800 chiropractors in the Kansas City area.
Yeah.
Any one of them can give them what they're looking for.
Yep.
Right. Like the adjustments I give, like I think I'm a pretty good adjuster.
You do a fantastic job
But
with an adjustment.
I think that, you go to any chiropractor on the street, the adjustment might be different, but you're going to get very similar results if you did it over like 100 patients statistically, right? You're going to get very similar outcomes, just the adjustment wise. Even people who are terrible adjustments, but are just very charismatic, you're going to get the same results from, right? There's a little bit of placebo in there too, right?
Yeah.
So my new process is basically we do a discovery call. If you're interested, if you have something going on, you're interested, we just do a 15, 20-minute phone call. We figure out what's going on, why you want to get better, and if we think it's going to be a good fit, right? And then we do a discovery visit. It's a 30-minute visit. It's totally free. The call's free as well. You come in and we do a movement assessment. We figure out why you have your pain, right? I know your pain is your low back. I know your pain is your shoulder. Why is it there? So we go through a functional movement assessment and identify that global dysfunction, those just movement patterns that need to be cleaned up.
Yep.
And then, we discuss what we want to do from there. And the next stage would be we do a kind of a 1-hour evaluation session, which is kind of like a test and treat sample session. And that's a paid session. You come in, it's an hour long, and we basically dive a little bit deeper into what we found with the discovery session. And then we do a test treatment and we see how you respond to the treatments, right? And most people respond very, very well. And then after that, we book a plan of care.
Cool.
And I don't do visit by visit anymore. It's all packages. Like I need you to commit.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you 3 to 5 visits in, you will feel phenomenal. You will feel the best you have in a long time.
Yep.
You're not fixed.
Yep.
I promise you're not fixed. We can still run through that same motion assessment and it might not have any pain or anything now, but it'll still be dysfunctional, right? And so a lot of kind of that evaluation visit is really diving into the dysfunction and really trying to get people to understand that pain doesn't come from nowhere.
Yep.
And pain is always a result of dysfunction. 100% of the time, it's a result of dysfunction.
Yep.
Right? Whether that's a mechanical movement dysfunction or a mobility dysfunction or whatever it is.
Yep.
There's always dysfunction there. And if we can fix that, we can get you better long term.
I love that, man. It goes back to what you were saying earlier about this idea that like people will feel better short term and they'll make their adjustments and go out and do what they think needs to happen. But if they don't go through the process of solidifying it, they're not going to be in a position where they're going to see that change out and where it's going to really like compound to give them the outcomes that they're wanting. And you don't become a better dad just because you're out of pain short term, because the next time you bend over and you pick something up and it tweaks again and you didn't actually fix the issue. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
I sit here and I run through that because I could find myself saying this about everything. There's so many parallels, man, in fitness, in chiropractic, in physical therapy, which is why I've tried to create this network of people like yourself who really believe in taking the same approach, because I think so many people get this false confidence around like early success and having quote unquote figured it out. We've seen that a lot in the past. And I think that it is part of what we were discussing earlier, where people in the Midwest maybe don't understand, like that's their tease. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you mentioned like a professional athlete, they get the long game because they understand their body is their tool. And if they stop taking care of it and pouring into where those opportunities to improve and be better are, it's going to go back to where it was before.
Yeah.
Where like people, I think they get into it long enough, maybe because you have like different crowds, the ones that are completely oblivious to the opportunity the ones that start to become aware of it, and then the ones that actually are like fully bought into the idea. Because that middle crowd, I think they get into the process, they start to feel it, they start to engage it, they start to do it, and they're like, oh, I figured that out. All he did was pop my back and scrape me a couple times. And
Yeah.
then we did these few exercises. I can work those into my workout. I
I
don't
can
need
do
to
this at
listen to them
home.
anymore. I can do this at home. And to really like bring my thought process full circle here, the problem is not that people don't know what to do. We've talked about this 100 times. They can't always do all of it at the right time and strategically for what makes the most sense.
Yeah.
And they sure as hell can't stay consistent the same way they would if they had an appointment, a professional, a coach, a team of people to help make sure that the strategy's adapted to the different scenarios. Because I don't know if you see this, but we work with clients through corrective exercise. Sometimes like pain shifts and dysfunction shifts, and you may fix one thing and realize there was another issue that was maybe a deeper seated thing. Do you find that a lot where you like work your way through like maybe like the back is flared up or there's an issue there, but it's not necessarily their back that created some of that?
Yeah, it's almost never your back
Yeah.
that created some of that,
Yeah.
right? That's why we go through the movement screen.
Yep.
Because like I get your back. Like your back is where the pain is. Your back is not where the pain's from.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's just where it's presenting.
Yep.
It's almost always a lack of, in low back pains, a lot of times it's core stability, which everybody knows, and then it's usually inactive glutes of some capacity, right?
Yeah.
But even more than that, like that's great. Like we can find, okay, your core is weak, your glutes are weak. Awesome. We're going to strengthen your buns. We're going to give you buns of steel, and we're going to give you a core of iron.
Yep.
You still move wrong.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
And
but
that's
I'm stronger now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
took me forever to get there, but that's what I was trying to say is like, I think you get in these situations where people get a taste of the things that start showing them progress and they just assume that they've figured everything out.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I think
That was the way easier way to say what I was trying to come back around to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's human nature. When you start feeling better, you start seeing the results, and you kind of know what you're doing, especially with like the rehab exercises and stuff. You're like, okay, I can figure this out on my own at home now. And you see this a lot with people that did PT or did chiro, and it didn't last for them. Is that they found the dysfunction, or they found the weakness or the mobility restriction or whatever it is, and they stretched them out or they strengthened those muscles in isolation, which is great, but you never put the whole thing together.
Yep.
And so
You got to integrate all of it together. Yep.
Your hamstrings are stronger, your glutes are stronger, your core is stronger, you're breathing a little bit better, but you still bend over wrong. So none of that actually is going to support you when you're still using the wrong muscles for the wrong job. And so you still end up with pain. And they're like, why? And this is where like you weren't treated wrong, you were just treated incomplete. It wasn't put together for you. You didn't go to the point of, okay, now we've got stability back. Now we need to put it all together, and we need to go through some motion so that we can have, load tolerance through these functional movements now. And that's where a lot of people are missing that, because they feel so good so much quicker. When you identify the right things, people get out of pain. But it's just like I said earlier, like if you change the oil in your car once, eventually it's going to break down.
Yeah.
Right. It'll run great for a little while, but it's going to break down eventually.
Yeah. I can just imagine that demographic of people that's like in that middle ground I mentioned, like at home doing like their mini-band, like glute work. And be
Just
like,
forever.
okay, yeah. And then it's like, my glutes are just weak again. I just got to get back into this. And it's like, all right, well, like now that you strengthen it, what are you doing to integrate and keep it functionally integrated? You know what I mean?
And that's the missing piece in a lot of rehab programs, and people, like I said, people just don't want to, I think, take that extra step and go that extra mile with it, because you can get there in 6 to 8 visits.
Yeah.
But the other 6 to 8 visits are for that integrated part, right? If we don't put it together, you're just going to break down again.
Yeah. Back to the thing we said, it takes time. It's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
It's not a quick fix. I want to shift gears a little bit just to kind of talk to you, because I know you're a dad, and I always love talking to other dads. I know you got a chance to come to the No Luck Club event that we did a couple weeks ago as well.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
And it's always cool to hear from other dads about what they're doing, especially business owners, but as leaders of your family and as your business and all those different things. Like, how many kids do you have?
I have one stepson who's 16, and then I have a 16-month-old as well.
Yeah, I knew that. I just want to make sure everyone else knew.
Yeah.
So, and I've talked to you, like, that's a big age gap.
Yes.
Obviously, very different parenting skills required there with the teenager versus a toddler. But like becoming a dad, both with your stepson and also having a son, like how did that shift your priorities in regards to the way you approach your own personal health journey?
It just kind of lights a fire, I think. under you, right? Like I've always been like, I'm not a fitness model, I'm not a bodybuilder. I have no desire to look like a fitness model or a bodybuilder. I
Yeah.
just maintain a functional level for what I do day to day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I've never had any issues doing that,
Hmm.
right? And just as an aside, I think that's where a lot of people go wrong when they think, oh, you got to get back in the gym. Well, I don't want to look like a fitness. You don't have to. You just have to be
Yeah,
functional,
and you won't
right?
accidentally look
Yeah.
like Arnold
Yeah, you're
Schwarzenegger.
not
Like,
going to just accidentally put on 30 pounds of muscle, right?
yeah.
It's just not going to happen, right?
Yep.
But yeah, to rewind it a little bit, yeah, it kind of lights a fire under the business side of things. Like, hey, like we need to, let's really grow this thing. Let's expand it a little bit if we can, and just scale differently so that we can get more revenue going and really provide for the family in a kind of a more meaningful manner. I'd love for my wife to be a stay-at-home mom and just
Hmm.
be with the toddler and raise him and have that luxury would be awesome. So we're working on getting there. And
Hmm.
then, with the personal fitness, yeah, I want to stay active for him. Like he's not getting less active as he learns to walk and run. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So I want to be able to chase him around the house. I want to be able to go in the backyard. I hope to God he like wants to play sports because I
Yeah.
want to teach him how to play sports,
Yep.
but that means I have to be able to play those sports too.
100%.
So yeah, it just keeps, good motivation to keep me doing essentially what I've already been doing, but maybe even scale it up a little bit
Yeah.
just so, because he's eventually going to overtake me, as he gets into his teens, and he'll be a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, recover a little bit quicker, and I want to keep up as long as I can.
Yeah. Did you get to fight off that the day you take your first major L as a dad?
Yeah.
Because I remember going out being like, I can't wait until I'm at that point. My 4-year-old now, well, he'll eat like a whole plate of food. And he's like, Dad, I'm almost as big as you. Look how tall I am. I'm gonna be
Mhm.
bigger than you. And I'm like, you got some years,
Yeah.
but you're motivating me to stay on top
Yeah.
of my game here.
We're gonna do a couple 40-yard dashes every now and again, just keep him humble for a little
Yeah,
while,
for sure, man. I think I've seen these videos on like every year at Thanksgiving, the kid and the dad race
Yeah.
until I'm like, we need to start that tradition. If
Mm-hmm.
we'll make it at 5 years old, so this year that'll be the year we're gonna race, and I'll be like, I'm just gonna start putting you in your place today.
Yeah. Keep him humble.
Another 10 years from now, you might have me, but it'll keep me on my game.
Yeah.
But no, you mentioned earlier the internal struggle, and I think the opposite end of that is that internal drive. And
Yep.
it's always cool to hear, how being a parent, how being a business owner, how, really becoming the highest form version of yourself in all aspects of your life, how that's been steered internally and how you've used that to drive your efforts to go out and chase it, because that's what it feels like you're probably doing a lot of times.
Yeah, I think you have to. You have to adapt and, and always try to be the best version of yourself. It sounds corny to say, right?
It
But
does,
everybody's heard
yeah.
it. But like it's true. Like you internalize it a little bit, but if you're not trying to make every day at least on par, if not a little bit better than yesterday, then what are we really doing?
Yeah.
Right? Like we're just going downhill from here. Like no, I'm not dead. I'm not a foot in the grave. Like let's keep going up.
Yeah. Well, and I think that so many people misunderstand what that has to look like. It doesn't have to be I'm bigger, faster, stronger, sexier, more rich. Like it's
Yeah.
like I'm moving forward
Yeah.
in any capacity.
Yeah, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, whatever your cup of tea is,
Yep.
net improvement to yourself will be a net benefit for your life,
Hmm.
right?
And
So,
everybody and everything associated with it, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As a business owner, like I imagine that you find that on days or time frames where you've been better about being on top of your health, you've probably been a little bit better there. You've been able to show up better as a dad. You've been able to show up better as a husband. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I just think it's so important to reiterate, because I think the people that do listen to this, a lot of them are clients. They have things that are important to them in their life, and they have struggles and challenges and things that they're dealing with, and all the stuff that they got to juggle to stay on top of. But it's neat to be able to bring people on who have, gone out and done things that other people who maybe don't own their own business see what you're doing and deem you as someone who's successful, right?
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
worked with professional athletes, you own your own
Yeah.
business, you have all of these things going well for you. Like at the end of the day, the root focus is still the same no matter where you're at in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Move the needle forward.
Move the needle forward. Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
Let's do a couple quick hitters here before we let you go for the day, man. Just a couple quick questions just to kind of give some people something to chew on before they leave. But
Yeah.
first and foremost, some of your biggest myths about pain and injury. Anything that pops up front of mind.
Biggest myths: mobility restrictions are highly overrated. Most people do not have tight hamstrings. So stretching your hamstrings forever is not going to get you out of pain.
Okay.
Yes, you can do all of your rehab exercises at home, 100%. You absolutely can. Do you know how to progress them? Probably not. Do you know what you're looking for? Probably not. Are you going to do them? Probably not. Right? Those
So
are
you
things I
need
see every day.
accountability
Yeah.
and strategy.
Accountability and strategy goes a
Yeah.
long way. Like I say, generic plans will get you generic results. And if you've only ever gotten generic results, you've probably been on generic plans, right?
Facts.
Generic plans help a lot of people, but a lot of people also fall through the cracks, right? So if you need specialized care, find someone who can give you specialized care.
Bam. Next, what should people stop doing? Stretching their hamstrings.
Stretching their hamstrings so much. Yeah.
What should people start doing more of? We'll pivot.
Start doing more. Just moving. It doesn't matter. I don't care what it is. If you go to the gym for 30 to 40 minutes a day, awesome. If you walk around your block once a night, awesome. Start moving. Because the big thing is, if you don't start now, this is the best it will ever be for you. Wherever you're at right now, if you don't take action, you don't do anything, this is the best it'll get. That knee that hurts every time you go up the stairs, it's not just going to go away on its own. It's going to keep degrading. The more you avoid using it, the worse it's going to get. It's literally downhill from here if you do not take action and get moving. So if you want today, whenever you're watching this, today to be the best day that you will have in the rest of your life, don't do anything.
Yeah.
Keeps banging this.
It's all right.
If you want things to get better, you got to take action. Nobody's going to do it for you.
Yep. That kind of bleeds into the next one I had. How do you know when you need care? When you know it's not going to get better, you probably need care. But I'll let you answer that on your own.
Yeah, I encourage people to try as much as they can.
Okay.
Right? I would say if you start with somebody who is going to give you a strategic outline to get better and really attack the root cause of your dysfunction, you're starting at the finish line.
Okay.
A lot of people don't start at the finish line, right? They go to the whatever their friend recommends. Oh, I tried this guy, it was awesome, right? That gets better for a little bit. So try chiropractic, try PT, I wouldn't recommend try surgery, but try all of the
surgery doesn't feel like
try all of the non-surgical interventions that you can and see if it works. And if it doesn't, find somebody else. Just keep trying things. But if it's not going away, try something.
Okay. Where do you see healthcare and this industry going long term?
Man, that's such an abstract question.
That's why we saved it for last.
Healthcare in general, I think, is definitely going to be moving to hopefully a more preventative thing where people are, more active. We're eating a little bit better. We're moving a little bit more, whether that's in the gym or at home. It doesn't matter. We're just moving.
Yep.
Right. Set a goal, and then don't just set a goal, but set steps to reach the goal. Right. Just an abstract thought of like, oh, I want to do this, but with no plan to get there doesn't mean anything. Right.
Yep.
So I think we're shifting hopefully to that more preventative and just the more awareness side of things. Like, okay, sometimes you just tweak something and it goes away in a couple of days and it never comes back. Like that happens every day with people. That's totally fine. You don't need to go see a specialist for that. If it keeps coming back every 2 months, something's not right. Right. Even if it lasts for 2 days and goes away, like something's not right.
Yep.
Right. So just be aware of your body, and just be more cognizant of what's going on, how often it's happening. And if it keeps reoccurring, go do something about it. Right. Just don't just lay down and take it.
Yep.
Right. Pain's not normal as we age. Right.
Yeah.
Even as we age, pain's not normal. It's not normal. Pain is a signal that your body is saying something's wrong. Go figure out what's wrong.
Yep.
Right. And so I think we're shifting into that where people are more aware of those things and hopefully they're a little more willing to take action on those things.
All right, man. I feel like that's a good note. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's just at Dr. John McNeely, kcspineandsport.com, Facebook,
Google.
KC Spine and Sport. Yeah, Google, KC Spine and Sport.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, of course.
This was awesome.
Yeah, it's always fun to get a chance to sit down. I know you and I have had a lot of conversations, but never anything quite like this. And I appreciate your insight on things. And
love to talk shop.
Yeah, dude. It's easy to shoot the shit with people that you can see eye to eye with. But yeah, man, if you guys have any questions, go find Dr. John if you're in the KC area. But thank you again for joining us today.
Yeah, guys, sign up at Avexia. They'll get you strong.
Hey, there we go. A little
get you strong, baby.
There you go. Well, thank you. I'll catch you next week.
This episode of the Higher Form podcast is powered by Avexia Health and Performance, your home for smart training, simple nutrition, and real accountability. Built to help you look, feel, and perform your best. Whether you're just getting started or chasing your next level, visit AvexiaKC.com to learn more and start building your higher form today.